I recently did a video on the Tonnika Sisters, two of the characters from the Star Wars Cantina. And if you're asking yourself, who are the Tonnika Sisters? Well, I just told you, they're two characters from the Star Wars Cantina, but they're two very beautiful women, and they're dressed in skin-tight spandex outfits, so is it any wonder that they've become a hit among Star Wars fans? And one of the reasons I did a video recently is because they've come back around to the collector hemisphere, if you will, because there's a new sort of poll, hashtag social media campaign to get these figures made as action figures again. And one of the big takeaways I got reading the comment section from my previous video about the Tonnika Sisters are that a huge chunk of Star Wars fans have absolutely no idea who the Tonnika Sisters are. We all do because, right, we're huge action figure fans and we've been asking for them for years, if not decades, but maybe not the majority, but a good chunk of comments were, who are these characters? I have no idea who. This is the first time I've heard of them watching this video. And then the second big thing I got from the comment section was, well, why can't you just throw money at the problem and, pay for the Tonnika Sisters to get made? Okay, well, if there's nothing I like more in this world than it is providing answers and removing stress for problems. Well, actually, no, there's one thing I love more than answers, and that's stuffing my face full of yummy, yummy Cap'n Crunch Crunch Berries. But since I don't have any Cap'n Crunch with Crunch Berries on hand at the moment, we're going to have to settle for a video about answers. So let's dive in and talk about these two factors and why you can't just throw money at the problem. So, as we said before, Tonnika Sisters, characters in the cantina, in the background, hanging out with lots of aliens, and very attractive women in tight-fitting clothing. Big shocker that they've become popular amongst the super hardcore Star Wars fans, especially because for years and decades we've been told that we can't have them as action figures. And of course, everybody wants what they can't have, just ask people who bought New Coke. And so they've become a bit of a cult status because people want these figures to finish off their cantina diorama, if you will, and they can't have them. So of course we want what we can't have, especially when there's rare to have females in Star Wars at all, let alone, two of them in the cantina. So if you want to see the whole video about why they can't be made, check out my previous video here, click on the flag link. I'm not going to repeat what I said in that video because, sanity. So why can't we just throw money at this problem? Disney is a very wealthy company. They have very wealthy, the stock price is up, so let's just get some of those profits. Well, to answer this question, we have to go back to our good friend from high school, math. Let's do some math, and let's look at the math behind doing these characters as figures in the vintage line. So, got your drinking game ready for the Spectre Creative channel. It's the 80-20 rule again, where 80% of all toys are bought by kids, and that includes the vintage series. And to say collectors don't know who the Tonnika Sisters are, well, kids probably have no idea who the Tonnika Sisters are. And yes, you're going to say, well, what does that matter? They've made figures of females in the cantina before that are fully tooled, and they've sold them in the main line. Well, yes, they have. But this figure is from about 15 years ago, and that was before we had 5 consecutive Star Wars movies with product going on clearance. Retail is not exactly ecstatic about Star Wars at the moment because, fool me once, fool me 5 times. The brand is not the powerhouse it was coming out of the Clone Wars and the prequels. You've had 5 consecutive movies where the product has underperformed. Just look at how much has wound up on clearance. So obviously there's still the adult collector, though, who is never going to go away, myself included, and wants every single character. So mathematically, can we still make these characters? Well, let's look at them. There's 2 of them, hence Tonnika Sisters. They look very similar. They're not identical twins, but one is definitely taller than the other. One is in blue, one is in green. All right, so we could make both of them in one shot and not worry about the blue and the green or the height difference and just, put them both out together because they're fully tooled. But for the sake of sanity, let's just say we're making one Tonnika sister, all right? Maybe they could share parts between them. Maybe they're not both fully tooled, but let's just look at the idea if we were to do one Tonnika sister, and I'm choosing the tall one here for the moment. All right, so a fully tooled figure. That's $100,000 right there in tooling costs. No ifs, ands, or buts. What is tooling costs? That's the giant metal mold that has to be used to make any original thing out of plastic. Whether it's an action figure or a plastic cup, it needs a tooling mold. And if it's an original character, it's going to cost you $100,000. For investment, why does it have to cost so much? It has to stand up to being injected by plastic, hot molten plastic, over and over and over again. That's why they have to be made of metal. So let's look at the retail. If the vintage figures are still at $13.99, and that's the price they are at right now, but are they going to be at $13.99 in the future? Let's just say they are, for sake of argument. Now, there is a 3-year cycle for toys, right? The toys that we're working on, we, meaning, Hasbro, Mattel, Spin Master, Jakks, any of those companies, right now it is May 2021, which means if I start working on a toy today, that toy is going to come out in May 2024. It takes 3 years. Now, part of this is understanding the concept of margin, which is net sales minus cost divided by net sales. I'm not going to give a lecture on Business 101, but you may want to check out this video where I talk about retail margin, distributor margin, and manufacturer margin. So to break it down, the bottom line is a toy costs the manufacturer, Hasbro, Mattel, Jakks, about 25% of the SRP. So that means a $13.99 toy is going to cost about $3.50. And let's say we make 10,000 units of one of the Tonnika Sisters, and that's being really generous. Okay, let's be super ridiculous generous. Let's say we make 20,000 units. So 20,000 units at $3.50 a cost is $70,000. Okay, that's just raw material, but now we have to throw in the tooling cost, which, as I noted, is $100,000. So the raw material costs, packaging, plastic, plus tooling, for a fully tooled vintage figure is going to cost around $170,000. That's if you make 20,000 units, which again is hugely generous. All right, so the money is made by the manufacturer by selling it to the retailer. So that's at about 50% of the cost. So 20,000 units times $7 is about $140,000. Whoa, we're already in the red. It cost us $170,000 and we made $140,000. Wait, but we haven't even talked about overhead costs, which is employee salaries, rent for our headquarters, all of our buildings, all of the, secondary people like research and marketing. About 30% of any sale is going to go to overhead. So that means of the $140,000 you made, $42,000 has to go to overhead. So $140,000 minus the $42,000 that's got to be allocated to overhead costs is going to leave you with a grand total of $98,000. So to sum up, you have spent $170,000 to make 20,000 units. Again, very generous quota there. And you've made $98,000. So you're in the hole by $128,000. The math just does not add up. Now, this is exactly why you have so many re-releases with either minimal tooling like a head or no tooling, because it takes the $100,000 in tooling cost out of the equation, and that's where the profit is. It's a very, very careful balancing act between fully tooled figured and partial tooled figured or no tooled figured, straight reissues where you change the packaging. A great wave that demonstrates this is the Marvel Legends wave that had Beast from like 2 years ago. All of the figures in this wave, Gambit, Jubilee, Forge, they all are all partial tooled figures with new heads, new accessories, new cloak, but Beast is a fully tooled figure. So that one fully tooled figure needs 6 partial tooled figures to offset the cost. And then together, combined, they become an assortment that's affordable. So back to the Tonnika Sisters, when you're dealing with characters that there are a chunk of fans who have no idea who they are, see the comments section on my previous video for this, combine that with the fact that kids probably don't recognize them at all. I mean, they have trouble recognizing themselves in mirrors. Are they going to really know who the Tonnika Sisters are and run out to get them or beg mom and dad, aunt, uncle, best friend to buy them for their birthday? They probably want Luke, Vader, and Chewie. So outside of the argument of, you owe me, Hasbro, I've been supporting this line for 20 years. You owe me. Well, yeah, that is a very emotional argument, and I've had that argument in my head, but at the end of the day, it's the stockholders that make the choice. And the stockholders, honestly, for any company, probably don't care about a couple thousand collectors saying you owe me. They care about how much money the company is making. And they're not going to approve $128,000 in losses to make 20,000, 10,000 fans happy that they can complete their Cantina set. The math just does not add up. If it does, and if you still think it does, well, I got some farmland on Alderaan I could sell you. Alright, well, I hope you enjoyed this video, and I hope it did clarify why mathematically it's hard to do fully tooled figures without banking them with a ton of reissues. If you have any questions, leave them in the comments below. Thanks as always for watching. Subscribe! Tells YouTube to share this with more people. Their algorithm is how it works.